Hey guys, Zane here with another One Take review, and today I want to talk about the new Calvin Harris album, Funk Wave Bounces Volume 2. Funk Wave Bounces Volume 2 is the latest studio album from electronic and pop composer and musician Calvin Harris, as well as the sequel album to his quite popular, well-regarded album, Funk Wave Bounces Volume 1 from 2017. Since its release in 2017, the first installment in the Funk Wave Bounces series has seen continued growth in popularity. It's continued to become more and more relevant, and it's easy to see why. It was a super fun album. It was aesthetically the album of the summer that year, and there was a lot of great collaborations of artists on that record coming together to perform over Calvin Harris's instrumentals, and overall, it was just a very, very strong listening experience. Funk Wave Bounces Volume 1's sequel is just about as strong as its predecessor. Volume 2 is similar to Volume 1 in that it's a sort of who's who of popular music. I mean, really from cemented icons to recent breakthrough artists, you've got a little bit of everything for everyone here on this record in terms of features. Now, could you argue that some extraordinarily talented individuals on this record are underused, such as Dua Lipa or Chloe? Yes, absolutely. And there are some weak appearances too, such as Charlie Puth on Obsessed, but I mean, it's Charlie Puth, so who was really expecting it to be all that great? But my point still stands. However, for the most part, the features are consistently strong. They pair well with the instrumentals that are being presented on the record. All of the different appearances feel just very fitting and natural for the nature of the album itself. And people like Snoop Dogg really do great jobs at just capturing the sort of summer vibe in terms of actual delivery alongside the instrumentals and compositional aspect of the record itself and of Harris. Speaking of Harris, the instrumentals here are great, as is the production, as it's pretty much what you would expect, which is light, summery, flowing kind of synth pop and funk. I mean, hey, the album lives up to its title. It's just one funky, bouncy groove after the other, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no real change-ups, which is kind of frustrating, and that's something I will touch on in a moment, but for the most part, the actual tone of the record that it's going for is captured perfectly. This sounds like the summer, and it's a shame that it's not coming out in the summer, but rather in early August, because it just kind of feels inappropriate, tone and delivery-wise, but whatever, it's still great, and I'm sure next summer I will enjoy this album even more, but considering this is an album that is trying to capture a certain style, a certain tone, a certain vibe, it does that very well. Now, with that being said, I did want to touch on the fact that this record does get kind of repetitive after a while, as did Volume 1. As much as I can appreciate an album that's just full of nothing but jams and bangers, there needs to be some sort of differentiation between those jams and bangers to really kind of make the record as a whole stand out to me. And not only Funk Wave Bounces Volume 2, but also Volume 1 has just had a bad habit of sort of not doing that from song to song and resulting in something that just feels like one gray mass that's only really separately defined by the artists that are being featured. If we're just talking about tone and we're talking about instrumentals, a lot of the songs here could be easily confused for the songs that come before it or after it, and in all honesty, while I don't think that necessarily drags the record down too terribly much, it certainly makes for something that is defined not exactly by the man whose name is actually slapped on it. Calvin Harris is a talented dude, don't get me wrong. He does some nice instrumentals here, and he's got that summer vibe down, but at the same time, if this were just an instrumental record, I would like this significantly less due to that lack of variety. That being said, some of the performers on here do have such distinct styles that they still stand out. I mean, people like Busta Rhymes and Justin Timberlake are so easy to pick out from a crowd that you can just immediately spot who they are on a track and realize that this song belongs to them, but that's because it doesn't belong to Calvin Harris. Do you kind of get where I'm going with this? It just kind of feels like a lot of the songs here that have features that aren't from artists that necessarily just dominate with a certain type of performance style that's uniquely theirs kind of blend in with the other tracks, but again, a lot of the performances here allow individual tracks to stand out. It's just that the instrumentals and compositions themselves aren't necessarily the most unique from cut to cut. So overall, Funk Wave Bounces Volume 2 is a nice follow-up to a very well-loved album. This was something that people waited for quite some time, since 2017. It's an album that a lot of people were speculating might not even ever come out, or it might come out way too long after any sort of hype after the first one had left, which, I mean, it mostly has already, but still, my point stands. And I gotta say, it's just a nice follow-up overall. Even if it doesn't quite reach the same heights as its predecessor, it does manage to stay remarkably consistent. I'm going to give this album 3.5 stars out of 5. My one take on this album is that although Funk Wave Bounces Volume 2 isn't necessarily some mind-melting adventure into the realm of synth funk music, Calvin Harris manages to bring together a number of extraordinarily talented artists alongside a set of respectable skills from himself. So again, 3.5 stars out of 5, and with that being said, that's the end of this review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.